the sponsor of our program really doesn't need an introduction. Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, one tough woman with abundance of integrity. Thank you so much for sponsoring this event.
I just want to, as you know, I represent the 18th district in California, which includes San Jose. The city of San Jose has the largest population of Vietnamese Americans in the United States. Vietnamese people, largest number outside of Vietnam. And it's been my great honor to represent San Jose for many years. You know, back in 2016, the steel mill owned by Taiwan's Formosa plastic groups released toxics into the ocean. And I heard from my constituents, but also the whole world saw the devastating impact of that travesty, the millions of fish that were killed, the impact on the local economy, but also the fear of health ramifications. This is not just, of course, an environmental issue and not just an economic issue. I think it's a human rights issue. We cannot stand the lack of justice when it comes to this situation. The United States and Taiwan need to hold those responsible accountable for their actions. Last year, I led a letter with my Democratic colleagues to the Taiwanese ministers to bring attention to this situation and demand accountability. And the purpose of this briefing, which I'm happy to sponsor, is to push for awareness and to make sure that justice is achieved. Now, I want to thank everyone here today for traveling to the Capitol. People have come from Vietnam, from Taiwan, from all over the United States to tell their stories and to inform lawmakers. I hope the briefing will give victims of this injustice a chance to tell their story, to help rebuild their lives so that they can move on from this disaster. But more than anything else, the awareness needs to bring justice, which we have lacked because of this travesty. So with that, I see my colleague, Lloyd Doggett, who's also a co-sponsor of this briefing. I don't know, Lloyd, I have to go to another event. Everything is happening at once here in the United States Capitol, but certainly my colleague, Mr. Doggett from Texas, also wants to say a few brief words. Thank you very much.
Well, it's always good to team up with Zoe Lofgren. We were elected the same year, long, long ago, and we're still here fighting on issues like this. I'm joining you today not only in working with Zoe, but because of the invitation of my friend and community leader in Central Texas, Nancy Bowie. I am moved by the courage of continuing to demand action on this very important issue. I think that in my home state of Texas, as well as Louisiana, Delaware, and of course in Taiwan and Vietnam, we have seen the impact of Formosa plastics. It has resulted in the suffering of people, of fisheries, of communities, and certainly our environment. As you'll learn today with the great briefing ahead of us, Formosa plastics has simply too many abuses human rights and of the environment for us to sit idly by and not take action. They are a giant polluter that victimizes the very people who live and work near their businesses. We have extensive experience with this in Texas. After a long, extensive litigation in which Formosa Plastics fought every step of the way, a U.S. District Judge in Texas described it as a serial offender, and the company eventually agreed to pay $50 million for its rampant and illegal discharge of pollutants, plastic pellets in the Vaca Bay along the Gulf Coast and in some of the surrounding waterways. And so all that I think we need to see and advocate for is to see that the fishermen in Vietnam get the same treatment because they had the same treatment from Formosa Plastics, that they get similar compensation for the justices and the great harm that we will care about. Thank you very much.
Of justice for Formosa victims. We also want to thank Zoe Lofgren and Lloyd Doggett, members of Congress, sponsoring and co-sponsoring our program. I know for everybody here, time is tight. We're going to move through this program We're going to move through this briefing quickly, and hope that everybody can stay for at least the first half hour to get a solid overview of the issues. At the end, we have questions and answers. We have a great panel here of people with history, knowledge, experience with Formosa and the destruction left in their wake. You're going to hear from two Goldman Environmental Prize recipients, Diane Wilson, Sharon Levine, inspiring stories of courage and advocacy. Next to them, Marco Simmons and Carol Muffett are going to articulate the intricacies of the briefing report. We have some short and powerful videos to share with you all, and let's get started. Yes. See, that's my done with it. For now, only for now. Opening remarks, and then we're going to go to a video trailer, and then Nancy's going to speak. But pretty much from everybody in this room, I got a drink of water here. We're confident in the safety of the water that I just drank. And yet we're here today because an untold number of people that live and work in the areas of Formosa Plastics that have set up shop, they have pretty much 100% confidence that the water that they drink, that they bathe their children in, that they grow their crops with, has been poisoned by chemicals, improperly or illegally dumped into the water systems and rivers. Any corporation that goes into various localities, whether it's in the United States, it's in Vietnam, or elsewhere, and carelessly and deliberately dumps toxic chemicals into the earth and her waterways, that is eviscerating the communities and exploiting the earth like mercenaries pillaging for what they can for their own profit. And then what do they do if they get caught? Maybe they build a community school, buy out some politicians, build a park, and then they go off and pollute again. Maybe they get fined. What you're going to see in here today is a detailed yet easy to understand summary of the toxic misery that one particular corporation has inflicted upon many of your own constituents, their families. This corporation, the fourth largest petrochemical company in the world, by the grace and generosity of the United States, got their start in 1954 with an $800,000 grant. That's $10 million today. In addition to Vietnam, this chemical giant has subsidiaries across the U.S., and guess what? They have a history of polluting and damaging the environment here. I believe they have an obligation to the mother country here to live up to world-class standards everywhere. If they can get away with poisoning the waters in Vietnam, what stops them?
Hải nằm sâu dưới đáy đại dương, đoàn tầm sáng.